These brothels can be set up anywhere, but they have to be over 200 meters away from schools and religious buildings.
So basically, like the same as the current law.
The current law says the local government can set up red light districts, but the districts have to be distant from schools and religious buildings. But we're not going to set up districts. We're going to set up individual and separate brothels. And it is not the government that set up the brothels. It is the people or that want to build brothels buildings.
So one of the main reasons that no sex districts have been set up is because the local government said there's no suitable places. How will you plan to solve this problem?
We are unaware of your statement that the local government did not set up red light districts because there is no place to build districts.
Thank you. Will you provide any medical or economical assistance for those who have been confirmed with STDs?
Oh, yes. As our teammate mentioned before, the Communicable Disease Control Act says all people, prostitutes or not, if they are found to have STDs, then they will be subject to compulsory STD treatment. And there would be a budget that can share a bit of that cost.
So how will the prostitutes with STDs provide for their daily needs during this time when they are undergoing STD treatment?
Well, then they have to find another job. They cannot go into prostitution when they are found to have STDs.
Thank you. So do prostitutes have to stay in the brothels to work? They cannot work anywhere else besides brothels, is that true?
In our policy, prostitutes can choose the brothel to work, but yes, they can only work in brothels.
Okay. So you mentioned that you believe that all jobs have to fulfill their customer needs, but do you believe that doctors or shop owners, they will to perform their job, they have to penetrate the body, or in some
Well, it is irrelevant if the occupation involves with penetrating others' bodies or not. In our policy, the customers and the prostitutes have freedom over their transaction, and the prostitutes will have freedom to choose which client to take and which not to. They can also deny any customer that they don't want to have deal with.
Does the fact that prostitution is supposedly the oldest profession make it right?
Thank you.
Thank you. 1 minute preparation. Constructive speech, 5 minutes.
Honorable judges and distinguished debaters, as a second negative debater, I would like to firstly detail my counterplan, secondly further refute the affirmative's contentions, and lastly prove to you that the affirmative's plan will not improve the current situation, while our counterplan will. First, we will adopt an approach similar to the Swedish model, in which purchasing and procuring sexual services should be criminalized, and violators can be punishable by fines or up to a year of imprisonment. Furthermore, prostitutes themselves do not face any legal repercussions because they are the victims of prostitution. Instead, they would be provided with programs to assist them in exiting the industry. These exit programs would be regulated by a group of government officials who would provide services such as recommending sex workers to suitable vocational training courses and ensuring that they receive the medical care they need, such as psychological counseling, drug rehabilitation, and treatment for STDs. There are already vocational training services in every local city, and government officials will assist prostitutes in selecting and applying for these courses. According to TaiwanJobs.gov, the majority of the participants that attend these courses have an over 80% success rate of finding new jobs. By cutting off their customers and at the same time providing them with the opportunity to leave prostitution, the number of prostitutes will gradually decrease. Now I would like to further refute the affirmative's contentions and the solvency of their plan. The affirmative has stated that legalizing prostitution is guaranteeing the working rights of prostitutes. However, a study that interviewed 854 people recently or currently in prostitution in 9 countries, some of which prostitution is legalized, revealed that an average of 89% wanted to escape prostitution but did not have other options for survival. This shows that legalizing prostitution would not be guaranteeing prostitutes' right to choose their own profession because they did not enter this industry out of their own free will. The affirmative have also stated that legalizing prostitution would decrease sexual violence. However, in the same study mentioned above, 71% were physically assaulted in prostitution, 63% were raped, and 68% met criteria for post-traumatic stress disorder. This shows that prostitution is an inhumane profession, regardless of legalization, because prostitutes face extreme mental and physical risks. Therefore, it would be much more feasible to implement our plan and assist them in leaving the industry. The affirmative have also offered evidence to help us prove that Sweden has effectively lowered human trafficking. Even though they contend that they doubt that this is directly related to the criminalization of prostitution, we believe that since prostitution is directly related to sex trafficking, as the affirmative has conceded, it is logical to assume that the sex trafficking decrease rate was due to criminalization of prostitution. The affirmative have proposed a plan to set up brothels that will not have any employment contracts with sex workers. They even offer an opinion poll to express that the public wishes to legalize prostitution. However, opinion polls have also shown that the percentage of those unwilling to have such sex industries in their neighborhood is higher than those willing to, which is a NIMBY effect. Therefore, we believe that since such a brothel has a huge impact on the neighborhood, governments should respect the public's opinion. Furthermore, we doubt that prostitutes will have the incentive to go to these brothels since they will have to rent rooms using their own salary. The affirmative have not stated that their plan will increase the prostitute's salary. Thus, we believe that the prostitutes will go underground because they will not be able to afford renting these rooms over long-term periods. The affirmative have also stated that they will administer regular health checks on prostitutes. However, the customers are not required to go through health examinations. And since they cannot offer concrete evidence to prove that condom usage would increase, customers that have STDs would continue to infect other prostitutes while the government will be unable to track down the source. Furthermore, the affirmative do not offer economical assistance for prostitutes who have already contracted STDs. And as prostitutes will not be able to work legally as sex workers during that period, they will most likely resort to working underground since the affirmative have not proven that they have skills to work for other jobs. Thus, the affirmative's plan will not be able to lower the STD infection rate, while with our plan, prostitutes will not contract STDs because of prostitution, and we will offer them treatment for prior infections. In conclusion, we believe that the affirmative's contentions are not inherent, and their plan will do more harm than good. On the other hand, Sweden has effectively lowered the number of prostitutes, with only approximately 105 in Stockholm, whereas in Oslo, which is in Norway, where prostitution is legalized, it's 5,000. Yet the population of Sweden is twice of Norway. Therefore, our counterplan is much more effective in meeting its objectives. I'm now ready for cross-examination. Thank you.
Second ROUND3 cross-examine, second exam. 3 minutes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
First, you mentioned that the prostitutes are the victims of the prostitution.
Yes.
Could you clarify that?
Well, since I have mentioned before, 89% of these prostitutes want to escape prostitution. They do not enter the industry out of their own free will. Furthermore, they are victims of objectification, and it is an infringement of women's rights, as my first mentioned.
I see. And why don't these prostitutes just go out of the industry and get support from the police and the government?
Because if they go out the industry now, they will be fined. Therefore, they won't dare to go to the police because then they themselves will be fined.
So if we legalize prostitution, they can go out and get support from the government. Is that true?
However, I don't believe that you will solve the harms that you mentioned because of your plan.
So if we can prove that we can solve these harms, then we take this debate.
I still don't believe, because we don't, the fundamental belief of us is that we don't view prostitution as a job. Therefore, it should be legalized, and we should guarantee the working rights of these people.
Do you recognize that in illegal prostitution, prostitution still exists?
Yes. However, we have effectively lowered, Sweden, who has implemented our plan, has effectively lowered prostitution rates by a huge number.
Yes, and could you provide that evidence? Swedish decreases the number of prostitutes.
Okay.
And in your policy, are we going to deal with STDs?
Yes.
How?
So when they come to these exit programs and they check positive for STD infections,
Programs?
are exit programs that we will provide for prostitutes who wish to exit this industry.
Okay, so you first provide checks and then treatments.
Yes.
Will there be any job counseling services?
Yes, there will. We will recommend.
Okay, where does that budget come from?
Well, since these vocational training courses already exist in current society, we will not be using extra resources.
We have to stop it there. I think we both agree that STDs checks and job counseling services are in the status quo. Is that true?
They are in the status quo only for those who work in sex districts. However, because we have not.
But after your implementation of policy, don't you think the budget for these services would increase? Because there would be more people enjoying these services.
No, I do not believe so.
So you don't believe there would be an increase?
Yes, because we have already multiple vocational training courses.
Okay. In illegal prostitution, are there any protections for the violence against prostitutes?
Yes, if they undergo violence, then they can go to the police without the fear of being fined
So
or incarcerated.
so will the customers go deeper into underground markets?
We believe that we will be decreasing the number of prostitutes, therefore customers will not be able to